Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the World Online Racing Challengers tier. We are here once again to prep these drivers for what should be an absolutely unbelievable week of Challenger Series action. Tonight we head to the Silverstone circuit, where Formula 1 was once created once upon a time, and now, of course, it is a modern-day, state-of-the-art facility for all kinds of racing. Joining alongside me for this evening, it is not Steve, who is usually here. We have Ace making a debut in the Challengers tier. Ace, how are you doing?
Good tonight, first time on the box, but hopefully we're going to have a good one. Only practice for the Challengers this week, but you never know who could win tonight. Could be the overall winner on their day.
Yep, we should have a very interesting evening of racing. Just to show you the championship standings, obviously the championship here is not really what these guys are aiming for. At the end of the day, it is kind of just practice for the Esports Challenger Series, but it is TF Rudy who dominates the standings. He is leading ahead of Wilson. It's then Kai in third, followed by Bradders in fourth. Rowan then takes fifth, followed by Keane, who is in sixth. Rowan, of course, only just doing the one race. He won the Australian Grand Prix. He's the only man other than Rudy to win here in the championship. It's then Black Box in 7th, followed by Rusty in 8th, and then it is Denirko in 9th. Obviously wasn't here for Imola and then had some issues in Australia, but he took a podium in Bahrain, and Denirko showing some impressive pace in the actual Esports Challenger Series as well. Fern in 10th, followed by Harvey in 11th, Kimber in 12th, followed by Choco in 13th. It's then Legend in 14th, and then Allison in 15th position. But it should be a fairly interesting one, as we are almost ready to get qualifying underway here in Silverstone. It's a bit of a difficult track, a very high speed, but hopefully we do see some good overtakes.
Yeah, you never know. Well, you need to remember the likes of 2021, you had Max Verstappen and there was Hamilton battling out down towards Cops, ended up with Max in the wall. You need to remember as well 2018, Sebastian Vettel winning, breaking that Mercedes streak of their wins.
Yeah, of course, a lot of history here in Silverstone as well, with the new pit lane, of course, changing as well in 2011. And in more modern day terms, there is lots of refurbishments on the grandstands as well. So about 103,000 fans in attendance for, well, pretty much every British Grand Prix. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring you to the on-track action very shortly. But just before that, let's take a look at our track map. You can see the 5.891 kilometre circuit, 3.660 miles with 18 corners. The lap record, rather ironically, does belong to Max Verstappen. That was, of course, in his victory in the 2020 edition, not of the British Grand Prix. That was in the second week of running at Silverstone, and who could forget that very interesting Formula 1 season. The Silverstone circuit here, of course, is on the side of the old RAF Silverstone base, the former World War II Royal Air Force bomber station. But now in what you're all here for, the racing action. First, we do have to do qualifying, of course, but we can bring you to the circuit now for the on-track action here in Silverstone. It is a nice and sunny evening here in Silverstone, but it will be the intermediate tyres that these guys are mostly going to go out on first, just to get an installation lap in, get that setup set, and save tyres for the later stages of the session.
Yeah, so first one out being Rowan. They're all going to be on the inters, not wanting to use up, especially if they do make it through the Q3, or if anything happens in the race, getting damage or so. You never know. It could just be better for you to stay out on the track and get the practice laps in instead of retiring the car.
Yeah, the inters, of course, being the practice tyre pretty much. I imagine if they're using the inters here, it will be dry throughout the session. You don't want to get any unnecessary wear on the inters tyre, because that would be catastrophic come the wet period. But first few laps will be pretty lackluster. There'll be no real competitive times put in, but of course it is a crucial stage of qualifying, as we'll only see 3 cars be knocked out here in this session, and then of course in qualifying 2 we will see the top 10 decided, and then the top 10 will all go for a front row shootout pretty much in qualifying 3. But Kai coming around the final couple of corners, it will be Rowan who starts his lap first, but look, it won't be the most competitive session in the world for the time being. But Rowan, of course, taking the win in Australia here in the Challengers tier. It was a real impressive drive. He managed to beat Rudy. It was an interesting race in the actual PS Challengers. I believe it was wet, so we did see the intermediates feature, but it was a very exciting race nevertheless, and of course in the Challengers tier as well. But Rowan, he'll be looking for a good result this evening.
Yeah, trying to get the best results that possible, just for the practice even. But yeah, as you did say, PS Challenges had been wet. If I remember correctly, I had watched the final couple laps. Ian got a puncture on the last lap, dropped him out of the top 10, making him lose the points that he would have gained. As well as that, there've been some battling down the back of the field, I think, but I couldn't remember exactly, as it has been almost a week since then.
Yeah, it has, and then of course we did head to Imola for the Challengers tier as well. It was an interesting one. It was Danirko who actually extended his championship lead in Italy. Of course, the home driver, Danirko, not here this evening, but he leads the PS Challengers, taking that victory. It was Keane who then came in second. But yeah, it was an interesting evening of Challengers on the PlayStation platform, and then of course we had the Xbox and the PC as well. But more focus on our own running here in Silverstone. Rowan is not going to set the first valid lap of the session. That will go to, I would like to think, Tom, as he will get a valid lap on the board. He just heads through the Vale chicane. But as we said, as we do say, oh no, I got very excited for a second. I thought Jensen was coming out on the soft tires, but no, he's on the Inter. Unfortunately, nobody coming out on the softs. They're just going to coast it round for the start of the qualifying. But Schumacher setting the initial pace ahead of Shizou Tom, who's just a tenth a second adrift. It's then Mercedes across the line next. That is Fern, who will, I was going to say start a lap, but he's actually spun it through the final corner. He'll still start that lap, but it'll be not really competitive. And then Parnell Racing's Jack Laverty is coming through the final corners as well. He's on an invalid lap, though. So we will have to wait and see for more valid times. Stonk's going to provide one, though. But with 13 minutes to go here in Silverstone in qualifying 1, we are yet to see any proper action.
Yeah, Stonks across the line has just set a lap on Wood. Out a 2/10 off Schumacher, a 10th off Tom, but these aren't the competitive times that they're looking for at the moment. After Tom had set his lap, though, it would have been Kai, but he disconnected from the session.
Yeah, he did. He's got back in now, I believe, but he did disconnect. Another man who we can talk about is Aurelian, who recently signed, and recently, I mean this morning, for the Talent Factory Racing team. So TF picking up another young talent in the form of Aurelian, the Frenchman, joining the Dutch outfit. He's looking to keep improving his pace. He's been absolutely mighty in different championships here on the PlayStation platform on the F1 2022 game. But he has joined forces with one of the best esports teams out there, of course, performing excellently in the Legacy division here in World Online Racing. Aurelian is putting in some good performances here and there, and it's warranted him a role at one of the top organisations, community organisations, of course, not your Veloce Esports and your R8Gs, not quite there yet, but TF putting it up with the likes of those, and they'll be looking to further improve their talent roster throughout the duration of the next edition of the F1 game franchise. Jensen now 1 of 3 on laps currently, and I say that, he's actually spun it round, and you don't want to crash out here or pick up damage in the inter-runs, if you'd like to say, as that can really set you back for the remainder of the session. But keeps it out of the wall, just a harmless spin for Jensen.
Yeah, thankfully harmless to him. If the only thing is, if you crash out in Q1 and you have not got a good time on the board, especially if you haven't done a time on the softs, you could be starting in, at the moment, P18 at best.
Yeah, we will see 16th, 17th and 18th knocked out in this session. Usually we see 2 more added onto that, but the drivers don't have to worry as much about being knocked out in Q1 because there's less space to be knocked out. But yeah, still that risk there, of course, still running the risk of being knocked out in the first part of qualifying. But for now, we only have 3 laps on the board as they all head back into the pit lane. And I imagine we should start to see some soft runners come out now. But in terms of Silverstone here, of course, it's a A real interesting track, as we said. We can give you another look at it now on your screens. It is 5.891 kilometers, 3.661 miles, 18 corners. It's an average of about 40 gear changes a lap here in a Formula 1 car. That is quite low when you think Monaco has about 70 here nor there average a lap. The Hangar Straight being the longest straight. The Hangar Straight is the run from turn 14 of Chapel to turn 15 of Stowe. That's your longest straight here, 770 metres. And of course, the British Grand Prix was held a brief hiatus due to different historical events, but Aintree actually hosted the first post-war British Grand Prix. It wasn't here at Silverstone, and Aintree, you might know it, famous for a bit of horse racing here and there, not really Formula racing now. But as we head back onto the on-track action, if I can find the right tab, there we go. We now have a bit of battling on track. There seems to be Nick and the Mercedes of Stonks battling, as finally the Pirelli soft compound tyres are making an introduction here in Silverstone.
Yeah, I am just trying to pull up one of the books that I have. Got it, don't even know when I did. And it just has some of the track stats for Silverstone, giving you the approach speeds, gears, everything like that. But yeah, as you did say, about 40 gear changes a lap. You do never know, because sometimes you could, especially going into, I'm trying to think of the name, Village, some drivers like to keep it in 7th through turn 1 of Abbey instead of going up to 8th. So you never know, that could hinder your laps if you make that one less gear change.
Yeah, gear changes is something that plays a big part in this game, especially because you have to do a lot of short shifting to nail the traction. But nevertheless, we're going to have one of our first proper laps of qualifying, and it's going to be the Mercedes of Fern, it's the Mercedes of Stonks actually. Let's just ride on board with him as he heads through turn number 1 of Abbey and in towards turn number 2 of Farm. Turn 3 then, corner with no name actually here in Silverstone, but then you get into the arena section of 4 and 5. 2 difficult corners in wet conditions, not as difficult for these top drivers here in the dry. Turn 5 of course being flat. Heading in towards turn number 6 of Brooklands. You're looking to just shorten the corner here and cut a little bit of the inside. You can see that curb allows you to do it. It's a big white thick curb on there. It's then the right-hander of Luffield and exiting out past the old start finish pit lane, or the old start finish straight I should say. You're cutting as much of the inside as possible. You don't really see Formula 1 drivers do that. That's more a little esports thing here, but of course every single tenth that can be gained shall be gained by these drivers. It's then the very tricky left right section of Maggots in towards Beckett's now, and then it's Chapel Curve, which is this right-hander. You got to nail the traction through here, as you said, or as we said I should say. You head on to the 770 metre Hangar Straight, and then braking for Stowe Corner. Just going to go down to about 6th or 5th gear. Stonks uses 6th gear, doesn't quite opt for the 5th, so there is the argument for the gears again. He's almost been impeded by a Red Bull. That was very close on the entrance to the penultimate chicane, that is the Vale chicane, and then the final corner of Club. Stonks did get impeded there, but it's a 1:27.3. That's the time for these 17 drivers to beat.
As Nick does that straight away.
Yep, Nick goes on to provisional pole, and there's another PSR man who goes to second. That's Sav, who's just gone to second. Next will be the Scuderia Ferrari of Black Box, who start a lap, as Rudy is going to start his run as well. It's actually the other AlphaTauri of Jack, who's heading through the final corners. He's invalid though, so that's an early mistake for Jack. There is a car around actually there in the middle sector, and that's Fern, who has gone round. So one Mercedes in third, one Mercedes round. That's Kimber, who improves to fourth for Williams. It will be Rudy next across the line, but of course, as we said, he's only starting a lap. Here comes Allison then, heading through the Vale chicane and in towards Club. The Haas rounds the final corner, and across the start-finish line, Allison goes to third, so he'll be looking to keep improving on that. Was impressive in Australia. Of course, I wasn't here for Imola, so I couldn't tell you how he did there, but he was impressive in Australia. Arch goes to fourth. It'll be a Red Bull then of Kai rounding the final corner. Kai could be in some trouble from the stewards for that impeding, but he has improved to 6th position. Keane then goes on to 7th. It'll be Tom Roberts next across the line as he enters in towards the Vale chicane. and then through Club. You just got to nail the traction here in 4th gear, but Tom gets a good exit out of the final corner and across the line. It's only good enough for 6th for now. It'll be the Alpine of Rowan across the line. That's 2nd position. Excellent run that from Rowan. He gets himself right up there. Aurelian next to take the checker. Well, not the checker, it's not the end of the session, but you know what I mean. Aurelian goes to 4th position. Schumacher does improve to 12th position. It'll then be the Ferrari of Black Box to get a lap on the board as he heads through the final corner now and across the start-finish line. Black Box improves to 4th position. We're getting a lot of times on the board now. We're still waiting for the championship leader of Rudy to head across the line. Jack is going to cross it now, but he'll stay 15th. Not a good lap from Jack. Here comes Rudy then heading through the Vale chicane now. Let's see what he can do. The man who set the pace in a lot of these races, he'll set the pace once again here in Quali 1. It's a 1:26.636 for TF Rudy. An excellent run from the championship leader.
Leading championship here in the practice at least, but he's not leading it in the challenges. So that's the one thing that he needs to improve on for now. And just getting those points on Mirko. I'm pretty sure he's the one leading still.
Yeah, he is, as we can see.
As everyone else will just retire now.
Yeah, a lot of drivers retiring. They obviously feel they are safely into the second part of qualifying. And look, they could well be correct. We often see a lot of people retire as Rudy and Rowan just going to make their way back to the pit lane as, it seems like they will be through because, of course, we are only going to lose 3 cars here. So, really, if you're in the top 5, you can retire and you'll be comfortably okay because, of course, there's not going to be that much improvements on the last lap here in the session. But Rudy tops it so far here in Silverstone, and he's looking good to retain pole position as of now. But we've seen it before in previous weeks of this Challengers tier. We've seen drivers top Quali 1 and Quali 2 and then not necessarily have the best of Quali 3. So if you top the first part of qualifying, that doesn't really mean everything.
Yeah, because if you've seen as well in IRF1, you top Q1, you might have, let's say, the second best lap time of the entire day. But someone could just nick that Q3 lap out of you and get pulled. So you never know. As I think yesterday, Miami qualifying, the fastest lap was actually set by Max Verstappen in Q2. Mind you, red flag coming out, it was Checo Perez getting pole position because Max was not able to set a second lap. So you never know. Maybe you just get blocked in your one. Maybe you get the timing wrong slightly and you've messed up your entire qualifying.
Yeah, obviously these guys don't have to worry about red flags just yet. Although next game, maybe they'll have to. But yeah, you make a very good point there, Race. Obviously, you can go quicker in Q2 than you do in Q3. It's just about how big is your bottle. Can you perform under pressure? Especially when it's as close as this is here in the Challengers tier. But so far, the 3 drivers running the risk of being knocked out, it is Jack Laverty, Jensen and Fern. But 2 of those 3 don't have laps on the board yet, and Jack's wasn't really a proper one either, so we don't necessarily know the pace that they have. This could be an interesting end to the first part of qualifying here in Silverstone. Of course, the track that also saw the first use of a turbo engine. It was at the British Grand Prix in 1977, Jean-Pierre Jabouille sporting the new technology, but there's no new technology here. With 1 minute and 55 to go here for the British Grand Prix first part of qualifying. It's just about how you can perform here, and Jensen and Fern will be under pressure just to get a lap in. But Jensen gonna start now in his Haas Formula 1 car and head in towards the first corner. That is Abbey, and then in towards Farm of number 2, and then braking for turn number 3, looking just to brake at the start of the curve. That seems to be Jensen's braking point, but not bad through this first sector. Just needs to get a clean lap on the board here because that'll probably be enough to put him into the second session.
Yeah, it needs to keep it clean to the rest of its lap. Keep the power down when when you want to try and lift off it, but if you need to get that time in, you got to do what you can, and at least have some practice laps under your belt before you go into your challenges on Wednesday for them, while Xbox will be on Tuesday. you need to be careful. Timing your lap wrong could be very costly, as Choco has actually joined now. That'll be him out though, as he's not going to be able to set a lap.
That will be Choco out, as Jensen, bit of a mistake there, heading through Chapel Curve. He's did a 1:03.3 in the middle sector, which is not too shabby, but he's going to have to try and find a bit of time now to recover from that mistake. He heads through Stowe, then the right-hander. We saw an impeding here in the earlier parts of the session. That was with a Mercedes and a Red Bull, I believe, but here comes Jensen then, rounding through the final corners. Is this enough to see him into Q2? Across the line. Oh, it might not be enough, you know. He's on the cut-off point. Here comes Stonks to knock Jensen out of qualifying. Jensen is out of qualifying by the looks of things. What can Jack do? And what about Fern? As Kai goes to the top of the session, 0.002 ahead of Rudy. A very decent run there from Kai. Jensen is out of qualifying. Jack then heading through Lovefield. What can Fern do? He's now picking up the wooden spoon technically here. Choco is somehow ahead of him, despite joining with 45 seconds to go, but here comes Fern then in towards Stowe Corner. Is he able to find time where Jensen couldn't and see him safely in towards Q2? The cut-off point, about 0.6 of a second off pole. Schumacher now running the risk of being knocked out here in Q1. Here comes Fern across the line. Fern up to 15th. Schumacher provisionally out, but Schumacher is finding time here in the final sector. I need to keep an eye on Jack Laverty as well, as here comes Schumacher. Braking for the Vale chicane, the Alpine currently in 16th, looking to knock Fern back out of qualifying. Here he comes to the final corner. Is this enough from Schumacher across the line? It easily is, and it puts him in 11th position. What about Jack then? He's improving by 0.8 of a second. That would just about see him through, I think, but has he found more time here in the final sector, Jack? No, it doesn't see him through. He's improved by 0.9 of a second, but he'll stay 17th, and the three drivers who are running the risk of being knocked out were the three that are knocked out, and that is an interesting conclusion to the first part of qualifying.
Yeah, so Fern did set a good lap, but if he had been, maybe you had to get at least another 0.2 in that if you wanted to be through, which was his only problem. Couldn't pick it up, but he's been then knocked out by his PSR teammate, mind you, and his teammate in the session.
Yeah, so one Mercedes knocking another out of qualifying. It was a very interesting end because they all improved, they all found time, but they were knocked out by the drivers that they knocked out provisionally. So Schumacher, of course, improving to 11th is what saw Fern out. Jensen then was knocked out by Tom Roberts. But that is a conclusion here to the first part of qualifying, as we are just waiting for Kai to pull into the garage, and there he is. But ladies and gentlemen, here's your full qualifying one results. It is Kai on top with a 1:26.6. That is your time here in the first part of qualifying. It was then Rudy, Nick, Rowan, Sav, Black Box, Aurelian, Keane, Allison, Kimber, Schumacher, Brothers, Arch, Tom, and then down the bottom of the order it was Stonks, and then the four drivers that will play no further part in qualifying for the British Grand Prix: Fern, Jack, Jensen, and Choco. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. Welcome back to qualifying for the British Grand Prix here in the World Online Racing Challengers tier. We're just getting ready to load into the second session here in qualifying. Of course, it was an interesting quali 1, all dry session. It's all 1:26.6 was the time set by Kai to top the session. It'll be a shorter quali 2 then. If you're unfamiliar with the format, this will see another 5 drivers knocked out of the session, and we will then find out what the top 10 will be heading into quali 3. But we head back now to the on-track action here. 15 minutes on the clock, and it's already ticking for one of the more exciting sessions here in qualifying. Should be more exciting than quali 1 was, as we can see the Ferrari of Black Box heading out very early on. And of course, we have some fantastic camera angles here throughout coverage for the British Grand Prix, but if you laid down all the TV cable and laid it around the track, or apologies, if you laid all the TV cable that is laid around the track, if you laid it in a straight line, it would stretch from Dover to Calais and all the way back again. So a lot of cable is used here to provide the British Grand Prix. Good to see Robin Dunn enjoying the action by just saying his name a few times. And Shadow saying Term for pole. So he obviously feels that Term can pull a shock here in the session. Well, unfortunately he won't, because he's already out of qualifying. Choco then disconnecting, but Choco does have plenty of time, because Choco now has to unfortunately wait for 2 more sessions. That is due to the fact he joined late, didn't get a proper run in Q1, and he'll have to sit it out. But it is all but 2 drivers out on the circuit. Kai then is in 2nd and Rowan in 7th. That is the Red Bull and the Alpine, respectively, as it's a busy Silverstone circuit here in qualifying 2. It'll be Sav that'll get us underway. He has a Haas very briefly behind, so it will be Allison who'll just have to hold it back a little bit to make sure he doesn't run into the back of the Alfa Romeo when on his hot lap. That's the last thing you want. But Sav then heading in towards the Vale chicane. Let's ride on board with the Alfa Romeo then, heading in towards Abbey, down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. The Alfa Romeo Sauber roars here in 8th gear, flicking it into the left-hander, braking at the 100-metre board then, short shifting up the gears then through this section, downshift into 3rd and briefly back up to 4th just to get the ultimate traction out of that corner. Left-hander then using 6th gear and then in towards 7th. Not a bad run this so far from Sav, as he's going to head in towards the left-hander of Brooklands now at turn 6. It's a 27.4 in the first sector. Not a bad run that from the Alfa Romeo Sauber.
Heading now down to Cops for Sav. Will his banker lap in Q2 set in? He's hoping for a good one and hoping not to have to go back out again. But with the pace of all these drivers, you never know who's being knocked out.
Yeah, Q2 is a very close one. It's almost closer than Quali 1. It's a 103.3 in the middle for Sav, so this is not a bad lap from the Alfa Romeo, heading in towards the right-hander of Stowe corner now then. Sav will be looking to try and make it into Q3 here, so he has a chance at stealing pole, but it was Kai, of course, who topped the first part of qualifying ahead of Rudy. They both set almost the same lap. There's Sav across the line. 27.12 beat. Here comes Rudy across the line then. 0.3 of a second off Sav, so probably an older tyre used by Rudy. Allison just shuffles in behind as well. It'll be Keane then next across the line in the Aston Martin. That's 4th position for him. It'll be Aurelian next, and then it will be the McLaren of Arch who's next across the line. He goes to 2nd position, 0.3 off. Bradders then goes to 2nd now, 1/10 off. Here comes Shizou Tom round the final corner. Stonks will moving to 7th. Tom will go to 6th. It'll then be the Alpine of Schumacher, who has invalid, and that's the first runs done here in the first part of qualifying, with Kai, Rowan, Kimber, Nick and Blackbox all staying in the pit lane. 10 minutes and 45 to go here in the session, and an interesting first few laps.
Yeah. Some people using those use tags, it seems like the likes of Tom, Keane, Stonks, and Aurelian especially, not wanting to use a new set straight away. Maybe, I think they both used, all of them had used 2 sets in Q1 as well.
Yeah, well, they're going to want to save 2 fresher sets for Quali 3. Especially those guys like Tom who had to do a second run in Q1 on the softs. Of course, you do get given 1 fresh set of tyres for 1 new fresh set of tyres for Quali 3s. There's a bit of a race into the pit lane here between Bradders and the Mercedes, and he's given a bit of a nudge. That's a bit of fun between Bradders and Stonks, and it's no longer a bit of fun because that's a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Stonks. Bradders has been penalised by the race steward, so if he takes pole, he will start a minimum of 5th position. Nick coming out for an outlap then as Schumacher heads into the pit lane. Nick, the only man out on circuit here in Silverstone.
Yeah, as you're saying that, the two McLarens holding each other up. Tom is trying his car to be put back into the garage. That's the only problem about having a teammate, really. You never know when they're coming in.
And double stacks as well in the
yeah, especially
in
that.
the race, because when you are competing so close, and it's a problem we actually saw with Rudy and Legend in the opening round here, the Challengers tier, when you're so close with your teammate, you have to make calls so you don't get held up in the pits, and Legend did that and ended up finishing 6th in Bahrain because of it, when it could have been so much more. But I don't think he cared, because he actually won the Challengers the Esports Challengers race, because he knew what strategy not to do, pretty much. But Nick is going to be the next to start a lap, and Ace, I'm going to chuck you under the bus here. Why don't you take us through it?
Yeah, who is this again, Nick?
Nick, yes.
Yeah, so heading down in towards turn 1 of Abbey, shifting up to 8th gear, now heading through over 180 miles an hour already, and now heading in to Village and towards Arena, dropping down to 4th gear, back up to about that 90 mile an hour, but keeping it in 4th, so heading out of Arena and Aintree now, down towards Brooklands. That's Williams, I think it's Kimber on his outlap, getting out of the way, so through Brooklands now had a decent, I didn't exactly get to see the sector time, but it looked good, and it showed as purple sector 1 as well. So now down towards Cops we head. A good place to gain a lot of time. If you lift off a tiny bit too much, you're losing a lot, and especially if you go a tiny bit too wide on that exit. But now through Maggots and Beckett's, keeping it in 6th gear, then dropping it down to 5th, short shifting back up, and now through Chapel DRS Open, heading down towards the start, the first corner of Sector 3 off the Hanger Straight, dropping it down to 6th gear, now heading towards the chicane of Veal, braking just after that 100 metre mark, and now through Club and back on the power towards Hamilton Straight. It is going to be a 1:26.557 provisional pole in Q2. Provisional P1, sorry.
Well done. That was a very good job. As Nick, we picked a good lap to go on board with. He's just taken provisional pole by 0.6 of a second. Next, that is Schumacher starting his run. He's not got a proper lap in yet in the session, as Tom is going to round the final corner and start his lap as well. He did a 1:27.4 on the older tyres. He's going to try to do something a little bit better than that, as we can see. Allison invalidating his lap, heading through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Not a decent time there from the Haas's. Rowan is rounding the final corner now. Believe he's just getting a lap started, or no, he's finishing one, and that's going to be provisional pole position, 1:26.540. It's provisional pole, but obviously it doesn't really matter because he's going to have to do the exact same in qualifying 3. Sav has invalidated, so he won't be getting a proper lap in, and of course, as we saw, Allison invalidating as well. Black Buxton heading through Stowe corner, a 1:03 flat in the middle sector. That's very competitive from the Scuderia Ferrari, downshifting in towards 3rd gear and then up to 4th, short shifting through Club. Let's see where this puts Black Box here on the grid. It's going to put him on the 2nd row, and that is 3rd position. Next, around the final corner, that's Aurelian who goes to 3rd. It's then the Alpha Tauri of Rudy who rounds the final corner. That's only good enough for 3rd, so Rudy not putting in the times that he did in Q1, or I should say, he is putting in the times he did in Q1, he's just not improving upon them. Kimber into 5th position. Brothers does improve to 4th. Remember, has that 5-place grid penalty now, as we do see Keane across the line. Believe he's just starting a lap. Here comes Schumacher to try get a time on the board. That's good enough to put him into the 3rd part of qualifying now. Provisionally, he goes to 8th. Stonkston rounding the final corner. Was improving by 4/10 and validated his first run. He goes to 9th now, and that shoves Arch down a peg. And that will be not the final run here in Q2. We still have about one more to go, but great lap from Rowan, great lap from Nick, great lap from Rudy. They'll be safely through.
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm expecting cutoff. You never know with these drivers. You could see a cutoff even being a 26.6, but at the moment, you could maybe expect it to be around the 26.7 fives if
Yeah,
they can nail their laps.
Yeah, 26.75 is what Rowan has said. So far, Rudy just shy of that, as Nick is extremely just shy of that. He's so close, 0.015, 0.002 that separated Kai and Rudy in the first part. But yeah, you're spot on again there, Ace. It's about a 126.5 is what these guys are looking for. We see Keane then coming into the pit lane. Kai, though, I believe, is on a push run here as he's going to head into the famous Cops corner, the right-hander. So let's just ride on board through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel and see what the Red Bull can do through here.
Yeah, dropping it. Doesn't even drop it around the fifth, actually. Keeps it in sixth through the end of Beckett's and through Chapel, but down towards So needs to get this lap right. Currently does not have a lap on the board. Needs to get a good one in here.
Yeah, this needs to put him near the top, because this will be his final run of the session. He won't get another one in after this. Heading through the final corner now. Does it put him near the top? It puts him on the top. Great lap from Kai. 126.399. That's just set a new benchmark here. And it might be a sort of a scary lap for some who are maybe in 5th and 6th, because now they're like, oh, that lap can be done. I might not be as safe as Sav coming out early. He wants to make sure that he does get an attempt in the dying embers here of Quali 2. He currently sits 11, so a decent improvement for him should see him through, but has to find that improvement, otherwise he's out. Into the dying embers of Quali 2 here in Silverstone. Ace, who do you think is going to be, who's going to make it through here? Who out of the ones who are being knocked out?
At the moment, I would say Sav, Arch, and Allison. Expecting... Well, you never know. Tom hadn't set the greatest of laps in Q1. At the moment, doesn't even have the greatest lap in Q2. He needs to get a good one on the board, otherwise it could just be... Remember, you mess up by gear shift a tiny bit too late, and that could be you out.
Yeah, Tom, especially here in his own backyard, technically, it is his home Grand Prix here in Silverstone, needs to maybe just up that pace a little bit more. Sav, I should say, improving in Sector 1. He's found enough in there, just needs to keep improving by about a 1/10 of a second, and he should see himself safely through Luffield then, and heading through Woodcut, which is an easy flat right-hander in all conditions. Just teeing up and thinking about your turn-in point for Cop's Corner. Only a dab on the brake through there, and if you are real risky, it'll just be a lift. But Sav controls it, and then in towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, the Alfa Romeo finding time consistently and utilising all of the curbs through there. He's found a lot in that middle sector. He has found quite a lot in that middle sector. If Sav can just find 0.2 of a second, that'll be enough for the fastest time here in the session. Sporting the number 62, he'd love to find 0.6 of a second exactly. Here comes Sav then in towards the Vale chicane. Needs no mistake here, because he is easily through as it stands. Here comes Sav rounding the final corner. That's going to be second position. Sav is easily into the second part of qualifying. Here, that's a great run from him. Here comes Rudy then rounding the final corner. Surprised to honestly see Rudy come out for a second lap. He usually doesn't. He's usually fairly comfortable at the top. But he obviously feels that something needs to be done to make sure he gets a say in the battle for pole. Here comes Rudy then. He goes to second, beats Sav. It'll be a McLaren round the final corner now. It's going to be Arch. He's invalid. So Arch is out of qualifying. He'll start a maximum of 12th position. Here comes Tom then in towards the left-hander in the right. And then one more right to go. Is Tom able to get into Q3 here in his home Grand Prix? Across the line, he goes to 5th. That's a great run. He's pulled that one out of the bag. Allison goes to 7th, and he finds time. Is Black Box able to shove Kimber out? He does shove Kimber out of qualifying. Is Keane able to get into Q3? He absolutely is. That's 4th position. What about Stonkston around the final corner? Stonks is out. He'll play no further part. Pressure on Kimber and Aurelian and Schumacher here. Here comes Kimber, then he's first to tackle the line. Kimber is briefly into Q3, but will Schumacher shove him out? He will not. Will Aurelian shove Black Box out then here? Or apologies, Brothers out. Here comes Aurelian across the line. Brothers is out. Has that 5-place grid penalty. Aurelian finds time. A real interesting conclusion to the second part of qualifying here. And Aurelian just about scraping through. But an interesting ending. You can see then here, you're qualifying to results as though Stonks actually has a grid penalty as well. But Kai on top, 1:26.399 is the time set here in Q2. Kai topping both sessions so far. It's Rudy in second, followed by Sav, Aurelian, Keane, Rowan, Tom, Nick, Allison and Kimber. They'll be the drivers battling for a pole. Those who will play no further part is Brothers, Black Box, Stonks, Schumacher and Arch. And of course a 5-place grid penalty for Brothers and Stonks. Folks, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. Welcome back to qualifying here in the Challengers Tier for the British Grand Prix. Let us know down below what you think the pole time will be. We've had some very close guesses in the recent past here in the Challengers. So do let us know who you think is going to take pole position. Ace, who do you think is going to take it?
You would want to say Kai, as he's topped both of them so far. But I want to throw one out of here and go Rudy for pole.
It would be a very Rudy thing to do, to not be fastest in any of the sessions and take pole, because in the past he's been fastest in all sessions and not take pole. But Rudy, definitely a contender for the victory here in Silverstone, no matter the circumstance. He, of course, won here in the Challengers Tier in the opener in Bahrain and in Imola. Didn't quite get the victory in Australia, but he could well take the victory here in Silverstone. As no one coming out just yet, we have 10 minutes and 40 to go here in qualifying 3 for the British Grand Prix. Let's see, has anyone thrown a prediction out there? No, you haven't, unfortunately. So do let us know who you think is going to take pole and what the pole time will be. We will happily read a few out, as no on-track action just yet.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but I have been told that I am a comms curse, so I have maybe just completely ruined Rudy's qualifying. You never know yet. But I also don't want to say pole time because it's probably going to be wrong in the end.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever got a pole time right in my commentary career. But, yeah, it's a difficult one to predict. There's no celebrations yet, that's for sure, on who will take pole. But there is plenty of celebrations across the British Grand Prix weekend. Here is the most random stat you'll hear today, but I love saying this one. In 2019, there were 7,800 bottles of champagne drank at the British Grand Prix. So there's your random stat. As is that a car? So Tom in the McLaren, British driver, sporting a Norris helmet, will be looking for the same success that Lando has faced in the past, as we see Mist getting a pole time prediction in 26.1, Hadrick saying 26.2, so very similar times there with a pole prediction. As it was a 26.3 that was set in Q2, 26.6 in Q1, but the cars are at their lowest amount of fuel. The cars have the best grip and they'll be on fresh tyres for their final run in Q3 here, and that's for sure. And we will definitely see the fastest time of the weekend set. Charlie saying 26.2. So a lot of 26.2s going in. 26.210 to be exact. Hadrick saying a 26.234 to be exact. And Mist, of course, saying a 26.147. But we're seeing a lot of cars out now, as John saying 25.9. Oh, 25s. I'm not sure if we'll get there. But these drivers step up to a new level when the pressure is on. And I imagine we'll get a very fast time nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, you never know at this point. You could see 26 ones being set by everyone, and then final lap qualifying, you could see one of them just pull out a 25.85 even. It just depends how much you can get out of your car when you're under pressure.
Qualifying, that it can all go wrong if you do not set a banker time. Tom heading in towards turn number 3 then. Rotating the car in nicely. Tom's not been at his best in recent weeks. He's looking to get back there now with a good practice session here in Silverstone. Rounding through turn number 4 then, and heading up toward, or through 5 I should say, and heading up towards 6 of Brooklands. Not too shabby in the first sector for Tom. 27.3, that's purple obviously in Q3, but that's due to the first man, as he is the first man to set a sector here in Q3.
Yeah, but the real question is it fastest of all the lap times set so far? No matter what, you will be able to get one fresh tyre set. One fresh set tyre. I think this
is definitely a scrub set, because Tom had to do both 2 runs in Quali 1 and Quali 2 to make sure he was through. So I imagine this is on a used soft. It's a 103.1 in the middle sector though, which is fairly competitive, so maybe he had another set of tyres up his sleeve as rounding in towards Stowe Corner then. The sponsorless McLaren on the Formula 1 game, or near sponsorless, obviously this is a dark trade sponsor and lots of chrome sponsorships. Look, I say sponsorless and it probably is the most sponsors out of anyone, but there's nothing on the side pods is what I mean. Here comes Tom then across the line, 26.9, yeah, that's probably on an old set of tyres, because that is nowhere near what the pole time will be. Allison, 0.29 in the middle sector, 26.5 across the line. He beats Tom. That's probably on an older set as well, as it'll be the Williams of Kimber across the line next, as Kimber rounding through the final corner. The Xbox man looking to join his fellow Xbox man at the top, but he won't. He'll only stay third. Sav then will be next across the line. PSR have a lot of representatives here in Quali 3. They have Kimber, Kai, Sav and Nick, all in qualifying 3 here for the British Grand Prix. Here comes Sav across the line. That's a 26.3. That's more like it. And he goes on to the top. Rowan then next across the line. Will he beat it? No, only good enough for a 3rd position. Next will be Aurelian, who will join the timed runners. It's going to be a 26.7 for Aurelian across the line. Will be the Aston Martin of Keane then, as he goes to 7th. No real lap in there for Keane. He's a second and 7 off, as Rudy goes to the top, 126.2. That's more like it from TF Rudy, as here comes Kai then rounding the final couple of corners. Kai has topped both sessions so far here in Silverstone, but the one that he needs to top is qualifying 3. The other two don't matter really at this point. It's Q3 that you want to top, as Kai across the line only goes to 3rd. Here comes Nick then next, and we'll get all times on the board. Oh, I almost spoke too soon. We will get all times on the board, as Nick still goes to 4th, even with that little bit of a mistake. But I can imagine we'll go a little bit quicker in the later stages of qualifying. But Rudy on top, 126.291 is the pole time for now.
Earlier, by the way, it was one fresh tyre set run, as you get given that Q3 tyre. Which can't be used in the race, by the way. So even if you accidentally use the one that you maybe wanted to save.
On the stream, folks, it seems like my streaming software just didn't fancy it for a couple of moments. We dropped a good few frames. Hopefully it's all okay now. I'm getting green lights flashing at me, so it should be all okay now. As more poll predictions put in, Adrian saying 26.151. Has anyone got it right so far? No, the closest I believe it's Hadrick. It is Hadrick, because he is the lower in the 0.2s. But 3 minutes and 41 to go here in qualifying. Everyone into the pit lane. They're going to put on a fresh set of tyres and go straight back out. And we will have the shootout here, as Arch unfortunately leaves the session. Hopefully he can get back in before the race.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing, by the way. The only two teams that may be a little bit hindered here is Williams and Aston Martin. So PSR Nick and TF Kian, TF Aurelian and PSR Kimber could be the four drivers that could be getting a little bit hindered, as they're the only two teams that have both drivers through to Q3. Meaning, if you slightly miss time when you want to pit and your teammate's coming out, that could be your one over.
Yeah, you don't want to trip over anyone, whether that be on the track or in the pit lane. 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go here in qualifying for the British Grand Prix. Everybody coming back out on the circuit now. And they'll have one more competitive run to decide who takes pole here in what is not the most crucial pole position of all time, but we've certainly seen a lot of races won from pole here. There's been a lot of dominant performances in Silverstone in the past as well, especially 2008, where Lewis Hamilton won by 68 seconds to take his first of 7 wins here in the British Grand Prix, the most recent being the very controversial 2021. Your last winner here in 2022 in Silverstone, that was of course the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz, who took his first F1 victory. He's not the only man to take a dominant victory here, though, is Lewis Hamilton, as fellow Great Britain driver Jackie Stewart lapped every car in 1969, although Sir Jackie would probably kill me for not saying that he is well and proudly Scottish. But Sav is going to be the first man to tackle the battle for pole. He's currently on the front row with Rudy. The pressure was on Sav, as he was in 11th in Q2, but he did find a lot of time and improved into the top 5. He will be looking for a lot better than the top 5 here, as he does run second for now. It's a crucial lap, though, for Sav to see if he can take pole.
Yeah, so Sav will be the first driver to set a lap. Hopefully, for him, it will be valid.
He needs to hope that he can nail this lap. Sav definitely has the skill, but can he survive the pressure here of British Grand Prix qualifying? Sav gets his lap underway in towards Abbey for the first time. He just heads off the Lewis Hamilton straight and then through the left-hander and braking in towards turn number 3. You want to avoid that red curve there on the outside. Using 4th gear, rotate the car in nicely. 3rd gear, then short shift all the way back up to 4th gear and just dry pin the throttle, heading through turn number 5, and then you're on to the Wellington straight here, heading under the sponsorship board. You're just looking ahead, trying to spot your braking for the left-hander of Brooklands. Sav is improving, not by enough in the first sector. What about Nick then? Or not Nick, apologies. Keane in the background. He's improving by a 1/10 of a second, but of course Keane set his lap on very old tyres and it was not competitive in the slightest. Here comes Sav then, heading through the ferocious Cops corner. What gear is he going to use through here? Going to use 7th. Just aim for that little bit of asphalt on the inside, or not asphalt, apologies, AstroTurf, the green AstroTurf on the inside, in towards Mackett's, Beckett's and Chapel. You're trying to cut as much as these corners as you can and just minimise the run through them. And using the grass here on the exit, Sav is a little bit of a rear slide. The car wanted to go round there, but that's a monstrous middle sector by the Alfa Romeo Sauber. Braking for Stowe corner then. Is this lap going to be good enough to seal pole position for PSR Sav? Rounding in towards the final chicane on the circuit. There's 2 corners to go from here, both right-handers. Is this the right time for Sav to set his lap? No, across the line, it's a 1:26.109. It's provisional pole position for PSR Sav. Can Keane steal it? Keane is only going to start 10th. He's not got a valid run in. Next will be the Haas of Allison, improving to 3rd. What about Shazoo Tom then? He heads through the final couple of corners. Right-hander to go at club. Is Tom able to steal pole here as a British driver? It's only the 2nd row of the grid from him. He's not able to take pole. Rowan will be next. Took pole in Australia. Can he take pole here in the United Kingdom? Across the line, Rowan only goes to 4th. Next will be the AlphaTauri of Rudy. The name on everyone's lips does not improve by enough here in Britain. It's Kai across the line. He only takes 3rd. Kimber next across the line. What about Aurelian? Can he steal pole? He'll go onto the 2nd row of the grid. The last man is Nick. Can Nick steal pole here, or has Sav, the only man really to improve by a vast amount? Here comes Nick through the final corner. Is he able to take pole? He's going to go in the front row of the grid, but PSR Sav is on pole for the British Grand Prix.
Yeah. So, Turns out my prediction is wrong, but you never know. Qualifying doesn't always matter around here. Also, I will say one thing. Sav was the only driver to set a 27-1 in the first sector. It was by 0.02 of a second, but he did get it.
He did get it, and Sav's the only man to set a 26-1 in the lap overall. He goes on pole. Nick will line up alongside him for the run down towards Abbey. It's Rudy in third, followed by Aurelian in fourth, Kai in fifth, Tom will start sixth, Rowan in seventh, Allison in eighth, Kimber in ninth, and Keane not getting a proper lap in. He will start from 10th position. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. After this short commercial break, we will have the British Grand Prix. Welcome back to Silverstone, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for round number 4 here of the Challengers tier in World Online Racing. It is the British Grand Prix, of course. We have had 3 fantastic races in Bahrain, Australia and Imola, and this one should be equally as good. You can see the track on your screen now, the 5.891 kilometre circuit here in Silverstone, which spreads over 2 counties of Buckinghamshire and Nottinghamshire. It is 3.661 miles, of course, with 18 corners. And 18 very difficult ones at that. It should be a interesting race here in Silverstone as we head back to the live pit lane scenes. Ace, who wins this one?
I think I shouldn't say, because all my predictions
No,
have
please
turned
do,
out
because we have
wrong.
27 seconds to kill, so please just give me a name.
Keane. I know he didn't set a lap.
That's an
in
interesting
Q3.
choice. That is a very interesting choice. I can respect the boldness. 10 seconds ago then here, ladies and gentlemen, no formation lap, of course, as per Challenger Series regulation, I believe. But we should have an exciting one here in Silverstone. Lining up on the grid, it is a fairly cloudy race, but no rain on the radar. 3, 4, 5, red lights. And we go racing here in Great Britain. Real good launch from Fern down in 13th. It's another good launch there from the AlphaTauri in third of Rudy. Heading in towards turn number 1. Sav holds the lead here. Look at the Red Bull of Kai as well, and Aurelian trying to force it around the outside of his new Talent Factory teammate Rudy. Shizou Tom trying to make some positions down as others cars round in the background, it looks like. But looks like the McLaren of Tom gaining some spots here and is alongside the Williams of Aurelian. Aurelian got a great race start. Tom has just got it even better. But now Aurelian going up the gears. Seems like that Williams is more straight line speed. Heading in towards Luffield then for the first time. Side by side go Tom and Aurelian. The McLaren holding position though and is up to 4th. Kai has gone clean round the outside of Aurelian now as well. And Kai doing an excellent job here. Bit of wheel banging between the two. Tom up 2 spots. Your biggest gainer so far in the opening lap. That's Choco though is up 5. His internet not causing any trouble for him. Side by side into Cop's corner in the opening lap. Go Kai and Aurelian. The Red Bull and the Williams. Unbelievable battling here, still side by side into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Kai is forced out of it, but what an interesting opening lap so far as Rowan now trying to go around the outside of Kai. More wheel banging between the two. Kai was looking for 4th a few corners ago. He's fallen to 7th. Excellent racing between the midfield.
Yeah, a great start from someone, especially Tom, getting up those 2 crucial positions early. And mind you, the only driver to start on the mediums is Fern, but he's not in the lobby. He couldn't get back in.
Oh, Bradders has gone round here in the background. That's it.
In the back. Something's happened to him.
Yeah, that's Bradders. He's gone round. Unfortunate for him. And of course, no safety car able to come out here in the Challengers tier. So he's pretty much down and out of this one, unfortunately. That's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately for him, as he's down to 19th. His Red Bull teammate Akai is down to 7th. Jensen and Kimber side by side, then heading into the arena section. Kimber trying the up and under. Has he got the better traction than the Haas Formula 1 car? He absolutely has. And the Williams now up to 15th, and there's a mistake from Schumacher in the background. He's going to fall to the back. That gives Brothers another spot. Choco looking up the inside of Jensen. Then this is the battle for 14th, and the Alfa Romeo has got the job done ahead of Jensen. Jensen now down to 16th position and not really recovering from that poor qualifying.
Yeah, so he's got it all to do here in the race with some of his Shizou teammates even, like Tom, already up in P4 after getting through to Q3. He's got it all to do if he wants to make his team proud, but I think they'd be proud anyway of him getting in the challenges for starters.
Rowan now looking on the back of Aurelian, the Alpine who won in Australia. Can he repeat the feat here in Silverstone? Well, he needs to work a little bit harder if he wants to catch up to Aurelian. The DRS train is going to be well and truly forming on the next lap, though, that is for sure here in Silverstone, because there is only a matter of seconds separating the entire field. It is 7 seconds from 16th to 1st, which is very close here, exceptionally close here in the Challengers tier. DRS now enabled. It was PSR Nick, the man in second, who set the fastest lap, but Sav still holding his own out in front. The Alfa Romeo just needs to drive consistently to the finish, make his pit stop on the right lap, and he will be as good as gold for the race victory potentially here. Rowan still close to Aurelian, but not able to make much of a move through the arena section. Black Box looking to try and capitalise on potentially a mistake from Keane, who's not recovered. He's not done too bad, but he's not charging through the field from 10th, which would make you believe that this was actually his pace and he wasn't able to do much better than his invalid time in Q3, but he got to Q3, so there is definitely pace in that Aston Martin. Ferrari Black Box just hungry on the gearbox. The Alpha Tauri of Rudy just hungry on the gearbox of the Aston Martin, and Nick in front. Rudy, always a man that you can... He's always a safe bet, I suppose you could say, in races, to be up there and to be battling.
Yeah, well, Tom could be falling out of the DRS range here. He needs to slightly pick up the pace, sitting around that 8/10 gap. Just needing to be careful. Fall back a tiny bit more, and you're out of the DRS. Could be out of the DRS train, and could be very much so under pressure from his former Shizou teammate of Jeff Willian.
Fastest lap for Rudy then. He's clawing in on the back on Nick slowly but surely, as the dark clouds starting to sort of form over here in Silverstone. I don't believe we're expecting any rain, but it's certainly your usual dull UK day, as Rudy 0.3 of a second behind the car in front. That is PSR Nick. It's a PSR 1-2 here, as we saw Brothers overtake Jensen for his 16th position. That was through Stowe Corner. 4th lap out of 26. Trust me, these laps will tick down quicker than you know it. It is a fairly short total race time here in Silverstone. Just the 26 laps of running. The first ever British Grand Prix here had a total of 70 laps, and of course it's been 73 years since we first raced here in Silverstone. Jensen losing the spot to Schumacher. Jensen just not on the pace here, unfortunately, in Silverstone.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like one of his stronger tracks. I'm right, isn't it his home track as well?
Not too sure, as I know he certainly, if it is or it isn't, he's hoping that it isn't, because this is not the best performance as Jensen. Yeah, it is his home track. I don't know why I forgot that, but yeah, Jensen Randall, it is certainly his home track. The 20-year-old Brit. I'm not reading his Twitter bio. Don't worry about that. But
definitely
Jensen, no, definitely not. Jensen running in 18th. Needs to try and pick up the pace a little bit. He's not fallen off the back of the field. No one has actually fallen off the field here, despite a few spins here or there, which is positive news, because it means we still have a 20-car battle for a position here in the British Grand Prix. But the 5th lap so far, the DRS train, well and truly developed, and it's going to take a lot to probably break that.
Yeah. I'm just looking on the standings. For some reason, I cannot see Jansen.
He's probably a
Unless
reserve.
he's not on it. Ah, that would maybe make more sense.
Dara Smith in the comments asking Evan show the ERS. No, I won't. Commentators don't just obey drivers when they want to see your ERS. Find out the information yourself, my friend. I don't know about you, Ace, but we always get so many comments asking to show the ERS. No, you don't need it. You can see in the steering wheel when we go on board. They all practically have the same ERS. It's a DRS train. None of them are using it. I say that as we look at Blackbox, who was using it at the time. But no, we will not show the ERS here in the 5th lap of proceedings here for the British Grand Prix. And I'm kind of hoping that it starts to spice up a little bit, otherwise this one might be a little bit boring to the end.
Yeah, I mean, you say you get a lot of comments. I don't normally. I get asked to show certain people's ERS, as most of the time I have it on.
See, I don't really put it on, because if you look, it's just way too many. It's just way too many things on the screen. You're gonna lose.
And you give too much away to everyone else. Whereas if you're doing lower tiers, it doesn't matter as much, because you don't have as many people watching and wanting to get the info.
Well, to be fair, I'm not really biased to anyone, as you can't be. It's commentary, but fastest lap of the race there went for the man in 11th. So Jack picking up the pace. He obviously fancies a few points here this evening here in Silverstone, as Rudy closing the gap on Nick in front, and the gap, I have to say, between Sav and Nick is closing down. We may see a battle for first sooner rather than later. Hopefully we do, as we're on the 6th lap out of 26 here in Silverstone. Let's see then. Can the Aston Martin work his way past? Can Rudy work his way past the Aston Martin? He may certainly have a go into the hangar straight, as he is just teeing up a manoeuvre here.
Yeah, as well as that, down the... I can't think of the name of it now, but down towards Brooklands at least, couldn't think of the straight name, Allison lost the DRS on Kai. Put him a little bit under pressure from Key in behind him. But he's now got back into that DRS. But he needs to push a little bit more because he's falling out of it again.
Yeah, he is. He's out of the DRS then. As look at Rudy dives down the inside of Nick here in towards the Vale chicane. The Alpha Tauri wanted second position, but that might have just costed them both, because now they're out of the DRS as Sav in front. Aurelian sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, as it's all just spicing up here in Silverstone. Nick defends it for now. There wasn't really a gap for Rudy, but he might not be happy with not getting the space that he obviously feels he deserves. Tom then right on the back of the Dutchman as well, and the McLaren may potentially look for a move. Tom didn't look so great in the first and second parts of qualifying. He's looking very good now, and the man in fourth certainly eyeing up a podium place. Nick has pushed a bit, and he is well back within the DRS of Sav, who's almost running a full tank of ERS.
Wow, okay. So even although he's out in front, he's using it scarcely.
Yeah, he's controlling this one from the front, and it's a dominant performance so far from Sav. He's certainly driving exceptionally, and that's what you got to do if you want to win these challenger tier races. Every lap has to be on the limit and perfect.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you can't say that about Choco and Brothers as well. Both of them have 3-second time penalties already. That could, if we were in the Challengers race right now, which is happening on Tuesday and Wednesday, could decide a top 10 position for them.
Yep, it could. And you can't pick up penalties so often, because there won't be a lot of drivers that will pick them up. Silverstone is one of the more easier ones to pick up penalties, to be fair to them. There's a lot of run wide spaces. Nick sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. That is surely him trying to get back close to Sav, as it's fastest lap trading left, right and centre here in Silverstone, as Kai now picking up a 3-second penalty. The Red Bull may potentially cost him a few spots, as Kai topped Quali 1 and Quali 2, but he's been really underwhelming since then.
Yeah, couldn't pick it up in Q3, he only qualified in P5. While his PSR teammate of Sav took it off him, as well as his other teammate.
Oh, here comes Keane, looking for a move on Allison. Wasn't able to make it stick. Thought that would have been a better attempt from Keane, but he wasn't really able to work it around the outside of the Haas, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, Allison, he is still falling back. He's just barely keeping on to that DRS. It's around that 10th you need to stay within. He's sitting around a 9/10 gap, yet one tiny mistake could cost you DRS and could cost you a position.
So here comes Rowan. Can he work a move potentially on the Williams of Aurelian? No, he looked like he was gaining in a straight line, but he just didn't. Aurelian held firm as here comes Keane now, trying around the outside of Allison, and by the time we see them come over the crest of the corner, Keane is ahead and up to 8th position. Great move from Keane to get past the TV8 man, and he has got the job done. Kai now 4/10 of a second behind Rowan, who's 4/10 of a second behind Aurelian, who's 5/10 of a second behind Tom. Keane now sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as we head on to the 9th lap of proceedings here in Silverstone. Still, it's almost like we're just waiting for something to happen. Nothing has really happened yet. There's not been too much controversy or spins or anything. Jensen 1.8 seconds off the field now, and of course Fern is an AI car since the opening lap, hence why it started on the mediums. We're still just waiting for that dramatic moment to occur as Rudy, purple in the first sector. Here comes Black Box on Allison, as Black Box has got the job done on Allison. Allison trying to work his way around the outside, but Allison now falling down the grid. He's down to 10th. Very disappointing from him.
Yeah, P8 in qualifying didn't get the greatest of laps in, but at the moment those pods don't seem best for him. In 2 laps he's lost 2 positions.
Yeah, he has as Schumacher. Picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's disappointing for him, as it looks like Allison may be in more trouble. He has Jack, who seems to be one of the quicker in the field at this point in the race, right behind him. It's so difficult to make overtake stick, though, just due to the fact everybody does have a DRS train. Although Rudy might have something to say about that. Is he able to work his way past Nick, potentially? He's been right on the tail, had an attempt in towards the Vale chicane on the 5th lap here at the Grand Prix. 5 laps later, he's teeing up potentially the same move as Stonks now, fastest lap of the race. Stonks is in 13th, so it just shows how close these guys are, because anyone can really take a fastest lap.
Yeah, a little bit more EOS shooters could pick the fastest lap up, with them all being within 1 second of each other. The entire grid, apart from Jensen and Fern, is separated by just over 10 seconds.
Yeah, which is exceptionally close.
Getting a move done could be the hardest thing.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree with you. Rowan is looking to get past Aurelian here. And I say that, everyone's looking to get past everyone, aren't they? But Rowan is particularly close. That's a yellow flag in the middle sector. That is Jensen, unfortunately, who has gone round. And that is Jensen's day done, unfortunately for him. There's no real comeback, because of course there's no safety cars. And look, there's not going to be 17 crashes in front of him for him to take a victory or a podium or anything. So unfortunately for Jensen, he may just pull into the pit lane and retire at this point. Very disappointing for him. But you live and you learn, and it's plenty of practice for the Challengers, the Challenger Series, the F1 Esports Challenger Series, which you can check out. Xbox on Tuesday, Wednesday for PS, and then Thursday for PC. We've no PC drivers on the grid tonight, but we certainly have the best of PS and Xbox that you can check out. As one of the best on Xbox, Kimber, picking up a 3-second time penalty.
As well as Sav picked up one, and as you did say that Jensen did pull into the pit lane and retire, I was going to say maybe these extra laps until the end could just give him a bit more practice. You never know. You're going to have to focus on your race pace more, as qualifying doesn't give you the points.
No, it does not. He's going to have to do a bit of race pace practice during the coming days, potentially before the Challenger Series, and we'll see how that one ends up on Wednesday night, of course, for PlayStation. But up the front, lap 11 out of 26. We're almost at the halfway point of this Grand Prix, and we should start to see some pit stops fairly soon. It's about a 50-50 split in terms of strategy. You may see some extend to lap 14, 15. But the undercut may be a powerful tool in a race like this when everyone's so close. You gotta try find every extra 10th of a second that you can. Rowan tucked up behind the Williams. Rowan currently sits in 6th position behind Aurelian. Aurelian, though, running a strong race. Ran a strong race in the Challenger Series in Imola. Running a strong race here in Silverstone in the Challengers tier. But still, nobody really able to overtake. And that's unfortunately what happens in races as close as this around a track like Silverstone.
First pit stop of the day is from Kimber. He's already into the pit lane. Going for an early stop. You need to remember,
Very early stop.
The longest pit lane on calendar. You do need to remember, no safety car here. Whereas if you had safety car and it came out just one lap later, you could lose out so much time because it's like a 27.5 pit lane, I'm pretty sure. So you need to be careful when you do pit, because one small mistake on your out lap or the pit lane with colder tyres could cost you massively.
And it's also a difficult pit lane entrance as well. If you can very easily speed into that pit lane, and that will give you a 5-second time penalty, which could cost you in the long run. Here comes Rowan then, attacking the back of Aurelian. The Alpine is as close as he's been at any point in this race, but that DRS on the back of that Williams, just keeping Rowan out of touch. Is he able to work a move maybe into Vale, as Aurelian has a slight snap mid-corner? But no, because the Alpine of Rowan dives into the pit lane here. So he's going to go for the long run down the pits. Of course, they all have to do it at least once in this Grand Prix, as he wasn't even getting close to Aurelian anyways, because Aurelian has just set the fastest lap of the race, so as we will get to the halfway point, halfway through this very lap.
Yeah, so 3 TF drivers and 1 Valor driver all into the pit lane on that lap. You need to see where they come out compared to Kimber, who was, I think, down in P13 at the time. But you never know just yet.
As
all coming out now.
Yeah, they are all coming out. Where's Kimber going to go? Kimber sets the fastest purple. Sector 3 of the evening so far. Is he going to get in front of Archer? No. Kimber will stay at the foot of the field, unfortunately, but he will have warm tyres compared to the older tyre. Or, apologies, I completely messed up that sentence. He will have warmer tyres compared to the cold tyres in front. That's the cold tyres of Arch, Black Box, Keane and Rowan. Fern, of course, is an AI car and started on the mediums, but Rowan is the man forcing the undercut, which makes me believe we will see a lot of the top 12 into the pit lane on this lap. We'll probably have one chance. He stays out and tries a long game. As do we see Sav in? No, we see Nick stay out. Is Aurelian going to box to cover? He does box to cover, so Aurelian obviously feels he needs to cover the undercut attempt from Rowan, and he pits immediately to do so. Allison in as well, as is Jack. Bradders carries on, and Schumacher, I think Stonks was, or not Stonks, apologies. I think Schumacher has just overtaken Choco. Choco retires from the race, unfortunately, there, and he's instantly left. So Choco obviously not happy with whatever's happened there, and he has retired in the pit lane, becomes the second retirement of the evening. Aurelian getting ready to leave the pit lane. Here comes Rowan through the final couple of corners. Is he able to make a move work on the Williams? And is Rowan able to take Aurelian's spot here in this Grand Prix? Aurelian currently in 7th position and looking to exit the pit lane. Here's Aurelian. Where's Rowan? Rowan's ahead, and the undercut has worked perfectly for the Alpine. Rowan is up to 7th position here in this race. He's the top of the medium runners, and Aurelian needs to try get temperature into these tyres ASAP to keep with the Alpine. The Williams has lost out there, but now I wonder the question, who else can Rowan get? Because he has great pace here on this fresh tyre.
Now, some of them down in Sector 1 have been given 5-second time penalties for overtaking while Choco's car came out of the pit lane. That was, if I'm right, Kimber and Arch both overtaking. I call it came out.
Sav! As the race leader enters the pit lane, he has been caught speeding in the pit lane. What we said earlier, the race leader as Sav has made that mistake, and that might cost him the race victory here. Nick carries on. Where can Rowan go in relation to those who have pit here? He's just at purple sector 2. He's absolutely flying here in this British Grand Prix, as we are well over the halfway point now. The final pit stops being made pretty much, apart from the top 2. There is Sav on pit lane exit. Here's Rowan through the final corner. He sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It's a 1:28.9, but Keane beats it. Here is Sav. Is he still in the lead? He is still in the lead, but where's Rowan in relation to all these? Rowan ducking and diving. Down the inside of Tom goes Rowan. Rowan is up to 5th position here. Is Tom able to fight back on the colder tyre, or is he just going to have to try hold on for dear life here? Rowan up to 5th, meaning that undercut has worked, and he's got 3 cars. There's Aurelian round. Aurelian's around, exiting the arena section, just pushing too much to try and make an overtake. The Williams has spun, and he's fallen behind as Tom has actually disconnected from the session. So Tom going to lose some spots as well. Kai going to get past, and Kai then will get up to 6th position. Very unfortunate from a lot of drivers on this lap, as Nick is trying the overcut, I should say, on Sav. He's going to come into pit lane now. So here we see Keane looking for the move. Oh no, apologies, that's Tom's actually AI car. So that is Tom's AI that he is getting past. Rowan 0.8 of a second behind Rudy, who is 1.6 behind Sav. But Sav, of course, does have that 5-second penalty to deal with now. Bradders stays out as Nick is into the pit lane. How's this one going to play out for Nick? Here he is, slowly but surely trundling down pit lane. Here is Sav then, exiting the final corner. I believe he's going to have this one quite comfortably, actually. Nick now getting up to full speed, just accelerating. Here comes Sav through the first corner. There is the Aston Martin leaving the pit lane as Rowan's got a 3 seconds. Kai's got a 3 seconds. As look how close Rudy is to getting past the Aston Martin. Just remember, Rudy's tyres have temperature in them. Nick's do not. So Rudy can definitely get the run down in towards Brooklands. As look at Rudy just wobbling in the dirty air. He's going to pick up a warning for his troubles there, it seems. As here comes Rudy. Is he able to dive it down the inside into Brooklands? No, he's not. Is he able to get a move in towards Luffield? Looks like Nick might just be able to survive here on the older tyres. Look at this from Rudy. He's going to try the traction around the outside. No. Tucks into the slipstream. Heading down towards Cop's corner here. Right into the slipstream goes Rudy. Is there going to be a wheel stuck up the inside? Where in the corner where you do not stick a wheel up the inside, according to Christian Horner. No, Rudy doesn't go for it. Seems like Nick has survived here, and the only saving grace potentially for Sav is the fact that everybody around him apart from Nick has a penalty. He just needs to try extend the gap to these two, as Bradders has committed the same offence and he sped into the pit lane, picking up a 5 seconds for his troubles.
As that lap was ongoing, I was going to say one thing. Would you have wanted to break Tom's heart? His AI came into the pit lane while he was disconnected.
Oh, that's tough. That's rough, unfortunately, because the AI is just pit for softs, and, well, even if he did join back, that will be his race done, as Bradders is going to go falling down the order. He's probably stayed out a lap too late, it seems, and now has a penalty as well to serve, which is very disappointing for him. But the gap at the front is 1.2. Nick going to do everything possible to get within that DRS, but all he needs to do now is just defend from Rudy, as there's a yellow flag in the first sector. That's Stonks, who's gone off, heading through farm.
Yeah, as Jack gets ahead of Bradders on the exit of entry, but heading down towards Brooklands. That is Stonks retiring the car.
Yeah, that Stonks obviously not happy with his own mistake, and he has retired the car here in Silverstone. Rowan 0.3 of a second behind Kai, the man who forced all the pit lane saga. Rowan, who made the undercut work and got past Aurelian and a few others. Kai is back ahead though, unfortunately now for Rowan's sake, and Kai is up to 4th. The closest gap on the circuit now, though, that is between Schumacher and Bradders, 1/10 of a second. Bradders obviously getting his tyres up to temperature now by this point in the lap, but Schumacher still looking to launch an attack. Heading down the hangar straight. Is he able to make a move stick? No, looks like Bradders has just got the better run. He's on much fresher tyres. As look here up at front, Arch potentially looking for a move on Kimber. Is he going to dive one here towards the Vale chicane as Kimber is into the pit lane? He's come in, or has he? Yeah, he has come into the pit lane. So Arch gets that one done. Not too sure what's happened to Kimber. He's going to retire from the Grand Prix seemingly, and Allison then is now going to try and attack Arch. Arch went from a good position to the worst position in this train because he's no DRS and he's 2 cars right behind him. Allison surely going to look up the inside, potentially heading in towards turn number 3. Is he going to go for a dive? He's not. Up at the front though, it's Sav who's made a mistake, and the race leader has spun heading through the arena section. Sav falls down to 5th. awful unfortunate bottle there for Sav, as he's down now to 6th position, and his heart will really be feeling that one. That is a race win chance gone.
It might not be completely gone. There's still 8 more laps to come here. Anything could still happen, as Savi's trying to get back past Kian through Corps. He's not close enough though. Just about, yeah, he'll try it down towards Stowe, I assume. But at the moment, it doesn't seem very likely. But yes, as you did say, Urch was in one of the better positions, but now
oh, here comes
Timber
Sav.
retired,
He's going to fly past the
worse.
Dutchman in towards Stowe corner, and he gets that one done. Excellent move from Sav, and his remontada is being put down on paper potentially, but I can't really see him winning from here. I think this is Nick's one done. Unless, of course, he makes a mistake and picks up a penalty himself.
Down here.
Oh, here we go. Allison and Jack Laverty battling as side by side they go, heading through Vale and in towards Club. Allison gets... Oh no, there's contact in the background, and it's Brothers and Schumacher who go off and into the wall, heading onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Schumacher and Brothers off and into the wall. There's wing damage for both of them. They are both pretty much done here, as Jack still looking for the move on Allison. That 5-car fight becomes a 3-car fight here. Arch leads Allison, who leads Jack, heading down the Wellington straight and in towards Brooklands. It seems like they'll stay line astern for now.
Yeah, so unfortunate for Barrett. Just got a big snap of oversteer on the exit of Club. Couldn't do anything about it. Schumacher was just a passenger and all of that.
Yeah,
being on the outside.
It was a unfortunate collision for those two, but it was one that you could kind of see coming when you go side by side through that final corner. It's the same as cops. If you go side by side, there's almost a collision waiting for you, as Allison has got a horrid run through that very corner, and now Jack Laverty is right on the back and looking to try and make the move, heading through Club. Is he just able to get the power down? You can see the red light flashing. That means the Haas in front is trying to regenerate the battery. Here comes the Alpha Tauri heading in towards Stowe corner. You can see him fly past. Is the Alpha Tauri able to keep it stuck? And no, look at Allison keeping it up the inside, heading in towards Vale. Is it a late move for Allison? It's not. Jack is up to 9th. That's 2 positions in 2 laps pretty much. As he's had a wobble there, but he does keep the position. And Jack Laverty now up to 9th for Alpha Tauri. He's recovered well after qualifying.
Yeah, up 7 positions so far, as like Barros comes into pit lane. Didn't have a front wing on that car. Does he come back out of the pit lane, or does he retire the car? Maybe getting some practice laps in could just help, as Schumacher does get a 5-second time
retire here, I believe.
That would seem like a retirement.
Oh no, he might have just messed up his pit entrance.
Trying to.
Yeah, Schumacher not retired yet. He might have actually just genuinely messed up his pit entrance. He's not the first to do it. He probably won't be the last if we have any more pit stops, but I can't imagine we will, as we're on lap 20 out of 26, almost at the end of the race here. Nick leads by 0.6 of a second over Rudy, but of course has no time penalties, which could be a crucial factor in deciding the victor of this British Grand Prix. If you're enjoying the action here in World Online Racing, make sure you do check out all our partners and sponsors, and make sure you do pop a subscription on the YouTube channel and pop a like as well. You can check out our social channels as well, the Twitter page, and feel free to join our Discord server. But Rudy still trying to hound Nick potentially into a mistake, just like Sav made, but no joy for now. He has to sit behind.
Yeah, as what you were saying, I wouldn't got into the top 10 again, past Allison, heading into Veal. So Allison's out the top 10 now.
Yeah, Allison is at the top 10. He is up into 10th position exactly, and he's trying to just hold that spot ahead of Allison, who is in 11th. This is a real dogfight for the final few points positions. Hopefully it continues, so it gives us a bit of entertainment to the end. Rowan looking to attack Kai now, and up the front it is still about 0.6 of a second. Nick is holding on well. He's very good pace here in Silverstone.
Yeah, as Tom comes into the pit lane. Actually, I take that back. That is today. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's Tom's AI. Of course, Tom, not sure if he left himself or had a disconnect, but certainly playing no further part in the Grand Prix here in Silverstone. Rudy gets to 0.4 of a second on the apex of Stowe. Almost gets down to 3.5, but not quite close enough. Close but no cigar. And unfortunately, these guys are all coming to lap Schumacher pretty much. But I don't imagine they'll get it because Schumacher on the better tyres to the end. And he's probably going to try pump in a fastest lap attempt or two. Jack Laverty now looking for his next victim. And that would be FRA Arch, who is 6.8 seconds behind Black Box. This is just a little individual battle between 8th and 11th, it seems. As, of course, Fern, Tom, Bradders and Schumacher are all having their separate issues. Or Bradders and Schumacher having the same issue, and that was that they crashed into each other heading through the final corner. But lap 22 out of 26, we're almost at the end of this Grand Prix.
Apologies for that. My laptop had actually just crashed.
Oh, well, hopefully it's all okay now. We can hear you again, as there's a comment there from Bloodmane. He's saying, I think Black Box will jump up a few positions if it stays this close. Yeah, Black Box going to gain quite a bit here, as he does not have any time penalties. We can run you through the time penalties. It's 5 for Rudy, 6 for Kai, it's then 3 for Rowan, and 8 for Sav. None for Keen and none for Black Box. And then if we do go gap to the leader, you can see Black Box 5.9 off. So Black Box could still finish in second position. It could easily be a Nick 1, Keen 2 and Black Box 3 podium. That would be a 1-2 for Aston Martin, something they'd love in about an hour's time in the actual Formula 1 around Miami. The gap is 0.2 of a second between Rudy and Nick now. Rudy just getting closer, and obviously his penalty may be removed. That wasn't a speeding penalty. I think that was for the little yellow flag thing that happened out of the pit lane. So Rudy still might just have a chance of winning this one. Lap 23 now out of 26. The AlphaTauri still just trying to hound him down. Not getting any closer than he has on previous occasion. Just gets within that 0.3 of a second barrier through Brooklands, but extends back out through Luffield. Nick managing this one well. These guys will be very used to racing in close proximity like this throughout all their various leagues. And of course the Challenger Series itself being ultra close to the drivers performing at the highest level. And of course, if you are interested in the Challenger Series, you can check out Xbox on Tuesdays, PlayStation on Wednesdays, and PC on Thursdays, of course. As 0.5 of a second now between Rudy and Nick. It seems like Rudy is just a little bit too far off, but down the back, Aurelian looking to try and make a move on Jack Laverty and of Arch. This little four-way fight, Allison in this one as well, just developing as Brothers sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Here comes Aurelian. He's gaining and gaining and gaining, but the McLaren in the front might be the man who's overtaken as Jack is trying around the outside and potentially here on the McLaren. Is Aurelian able to make it stick? Not quite. And Jack Laverty is just going to have to stick behind for now. Aurelian tucked into the slipstream now of the AlphaTauri down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Will get a double toe off the AlphaTauri and the McLaren in front, but no joy for now. Maybe a dive in towards turn number 3, but it's all line astern heading through the first corner.
Yeah, so clean between them for now. At the moment, Jack would be gaining that 8th place as Arch does have that 5-second time penalty for overtaking on the yellows, which I think should actually be removed, as it was Sugar's car coming out of the pit lane after being retired. But he's going to go, trying to go around the outside of Brooklands at least, right through the field. Can he try again? No, he can't just yet, but he's trying it again on the exit out of Woodcote now. Down towards Cops. Doesn't seem
just
likely
have to jump over here, unfortunately, because Rudy is going for the lead. He got right close in towards Cops corner. The AlphaTauri is real close now, heading down the hangar straight, tucked into the slipstream of the Aston Martin, using all the straight line speed advantages that he's got. Nick defends the inside, Rudy trying the outside. Here comes the AlphaTauri, sweep round the outside of Stowe corner. Rudy leads for the first time here in Silverstone. The ferocious Dutchman just never lets off, and once again he makes a crucial move here in the Challenger tier. Is he able to defend it for the remaining 2 laps? That's the real question, as he's going to go on a right old charge to try and win this British Grand Prix. Nick probably doesn't know about that penalty for Rudy. Rudy obviously thinks he can get that one removed because he takes the lead here. We are on the penultimate lap of proceedings in Silverstone. The AlphaTauri needs to hold strong here if he wants to win this.
Yeah, just one more lap to go after this one, Nick. He's going to try to come back on him, but at the moment, at least provisionally, he won't need to. He'll just have to sit behind, stay within that 5-second gap, and he'll have the win. But I'm pretty sure that penalty was for speeding.
Well, I believe if you check the race director, you may be able to find that one if that was a speeding penalty for Rudy.
I'm currently checking it, actually.
He won't be able to get that one removed, but he takes the lead nevertheless, as he does lead by 0.6 of a second here on the penultimate lap of proceedings.
It was speeding in the pit lane.
He was speeding, so that one won't be removed for Rudy. Himself and Sav both making a speeding mistake, so Nick just needs to hold on behind, and Nick will take a win here in the Challengers tier.
Yeah, but he needs to stay within that 5-second gap if he wants it. But at the moment, if he doesn't stay within it, and he, for whatever reason, picks up a time penalty, at the moment, I think it would be ruined. If he picks up a 5-second time penalty, it would be ruined at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I believe it would. It would be, well, we're on the last lap.
Unless...
Nick just needs to not make a mistake, as, he had a bit of a wobble through there. It wasn't a penalty mistake or a crucial one, but he needs to keep those to a minimum if he wants to try and win this race. The last lap here of the British Grand Prix in the 4th round of the season. He's trying to do everything possible to bring this one home for Aston Martin. Nick, of course, being a reserve driver, but he's still trying his best to pick up the maximum 25 points here in the Challengers tier. Cop's corner for the final time. The Aston Martin just heading through now. He's kept it smooth, kept it calm, and with 0.5 of a second the gap, he's still within that 5-second window. Certainly it would take some... He's almost lost it, but he does come around the final corner to win in Silverstone. Hearth in the mouth moment for him. It'll be an Aston Martin 1-3 as Keane comes home in 3rd, Black Box gets 5th, Rowan 4th, Kai in 6th, followed by Sav in 7th, Archie in 8th, Jack Laverty will come home 9th, and Aurelian will actually get 8th. Spins across the line. Jack will come home in 10th, Allison in 9th, Arch in 11th, then it'll be Fern 12th, Bradders 13th, and Tom 14th. All disconnected cars at this point. Oh no, apologies, Bradders just making a few pit stops and trying a fastest lap at 10th. But Nick takes the victory here in Silverstone.
Yeah, so I would want to say my prediction kind of came true. Keane from P10
It did
got
not
P3.
come true. You said Keane would win.
Slightly. It's a podium at least. Better than nothing.
It is better than nothing. He could have got 2nd if he had to find 5 more tenths of a second, but he didn't. And that is why he will finish 3rd. It's not like he's going to complain, considering he qualified 10th and didn't get a proper Q2 lap in, but it was good practice, of course, for the Challengers tier. Nick taking the victory ahead of Rudy in 2nd and Keane in 3rd. And now we will have your podium, ladies and gentlemen, where for the first time, as we said, here in the Challengers tier, won't be a Dutchman who stands on top. It will be the German of PSR, Nick.
Yeah. And also, by just over a tenth of a second, Black Box only got 5th. If he was just a tenth quicker through that final corner, could have had 4th.
He certainly could have, but we will see 2 Aston Martin stand on the podium, a feat they'll be, of course, looking to achieve in about 45 minutes' time in Formula 1. But here in the Challengers tier, it's a good omen heading in towards the week's action for the F1 Esports Challenger Series. I don't know if we will get to see a podium, because everybody is just leaving the session. So I'm not too sure we will actually get to see a podium or your full race results. I'm not sure if I've disconnected. That could well... No, we will get to see one. Here's Nick coming out the alleyway to stand tall on the Silverstone's podium, dancing his way through, as it will be.
Yes, you actually disconnected, by the way. I can still see the podium.
I can see the podium as well, although
yeah,
I can see an Aston Martin 1-2 and then an Alpine in 3rd, so something's gone wrong there slightly.
Yeah, I think you did just about disconnect.
No, I think
because I've already
everyone.
got the results up.
I think everyone just left. I could get the results up if I pressed X, but we're gonna just
Okay.
see the podium as it is Nick who wins. As now I have disconnected, so we won't get to see the race results. Unfortunate
I've
about
got them though.
that, ladies and
If you
gentlemen.
want me to say them.
Ace, if you want to read them out, feel free.
Yeah, PSI Nick, P1 Rudy, P2 Kean, P3 then is Rowan, P4 Black Box Kai, Sav, Aurelian, Alison, Jack running out top 10, then it's Art, and then it's Brados, your final finishers, then Fern, Tom did disconnect, as Schumacher, Kimber, Stonks, Choco, and I think there was one more after that, and I can't remember exactly what it was, it just went off.
Well,
At least I got him in.
that was an interesting race here in Silverstone. We're going to let you go enjoy your evening now, ladies and gentlemen. Do hope you enjoyed the action here in World Online Racing. You can tune in next week, of course, where we do head to the 5th round of the season around the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit. From myself and Ace, thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time.